when it comes to like Fast and the Furious or the movie Cars or this movie, I for some reason am a moth to the flame on this stuff. I don't get it. I don't understand, but I am just like
truly don't understand how much crap Max will give other movies, and then his secret
and then he comes to F10 where they're in space.
Give me all the Fast and the Furious movies, man. I can't get enough. I know. When's the next one coming out? I need it.
Absolutely wild.
Are they going to bring Paul Walker back from the dead, please?
Hello and welcome to the Infinity Bros podcast, the only podcast that's perfectly balanced, as all things should be. My name is Isaac Edlund. I have two other Infinity Bros with me today. One of them is the prodigal son of the Infinity Bros universe. It's Max Mosher. How are you doing, Max?
I am so glad to be back after eating the pig slop and returning home. I'm not going to keep the analogy going.
I was wondering what you were going to say next in that analogy.
I thought about it. I was like, we'll close the door there.
Good call.
Very grateful to be back. Thankful to be back on the Infinity Bros podcast, the only podcast that's perfectly balanced as all things should be. And I don't know if I've been more excited for an episode, anticipating talking about a specific subject, than I am about this episode.
And part of the reason why Max is so excited to talk about this is because the other Infinity Bro with us is none other than the tinfoil hat distributor of the Infinity Bros universe, Mark Jones. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be on. I binge watched all the episodes today in preparation to this because of Max's forcing my hand to watch it, even though I was going to watch it anyways. And now I'm glad he did, and this will be a good handing out carrots moment for this podcast.
Ooh, yes. Yep. So for reference, we are talking about Ironheart later this episode, and Mark was referring to Max texting Mark and being like, you have to watch this. It is essential that you watch this. And thankfully, Mark was able to binge it all and join us today. So it's going to be a blast of an episode. We're going to also talk about Elio a little bit on the front end here, but the main chunk of our discussion is going to be on Ironheart. And for those of you guys who are longtime Infinity Bros listeners, this is going to be a classic Max and Mark mess around. And I'm just going to be like the moderator. I'm like the guy that's like pulling back those windy cars, and I'm just going to let it go. And I don't know where it's going to go.
I thought more like, who's Trump and who's Biden between us? Tell us.
Whoa!
Trump or Biden? Okay.
Okay, easy there, boss. Easy there. Holy cow!
I don't know if I'd be able to make a decision.
Who forgets the most?
No, I'm more offended at what Isaac just said than what Mark said.
Max is like, yeah, you gotta cut this out.
Yeah.
Oh man. But it's going to be a fun one. I can't even really say anything more without like getting into spoilers for Ironheart. So I'm going to we'll leave that. We'll leave that for the back end of the episode. We're going to talk about Elio first because we want to get that out of the way so we can talk about Ironheart as soon as possible. But if you've never listened to the Infinity Bros podcast before, we have a special rating system that I'm going to play right here.
Here on the Infinity Bros podcast, everything is ranked from a 0 to 6 point scale. 0 meaning horrible and 6 meaning absolutely excellent. If all of the Infinity Bros rank something a 6, it gets an infinity step.
Max and I had the opportunity to go see Elio, which is Pixar's newest film that just released this past weekend. And it's a pretty great movie.
I love that review.
Right off the bat.
I love that review.
It is. Okay, let's talk Ironheart.
Let's be done.
Max, I want to hear a 60-second review what you thought of this movie. We'll maybe go in. There's not really a whole lot to spoil in this movie, so I'm not going to give a spoiler warning or anything like that. But yeah, just give me a quick 60-second clip. What did you think of Elio?
Man, I got to tell you, Elio was just such a delight. I went to this movie. I was on vacation with family, and family member had texted me, hey, have you guys heard of this movie? And they rightfully so said this would just be a great fit for you and your kids. And so this was a rare, all right, we're going to take our kids to it and have a family movie night. And we don't really have those because we got a 4 and a 6-year-old. And man, am I glad I did. I really enjoyed this, Isaac. I thought this was way better than what the numbers in terms of dollars and gross income are showing. I believe it only made 27 million the first week. I could be wrong on that. Like, it just bombed. And it's not even close to one of Pixar's worst movies. I actually think this is, to me, a top 10 Pixar movie. I really enjoyed Elio. And for those that don't know, am a military brat growing up. And so I felt like this was a movie really written for military brat families. If you are in the armed service, or you have some family experience from being in a military brat family, maybe you've experienced loss with family members. I just felt like this movie really hit those boxes well. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I give it a 5.5 out of 6. I had a great time at this movie. I really liked it. I think it was a little bumpy and slow at times. I think the story wasn't like the best Pixar story they've ever done, but the acting's really great. This has one of the best father-son scenes I've ever seen in a movie ever. In the end of the film, where one of the side characters has a big confrontative moment with his father, and the father just embraces him in a very unique way that, when you see this movie, will make sense. And I was just, Isaac, you and I have joked about this being dads of young kids. Now I cry at everything. And I was just sobbing during this part. I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was really well done. I think it's a great movie for parents to go see with kids. I think it's a love letter to military families. If you are somebody that is in a military family or has that background, I think you'll really enjoy this movie. And yeah, I think Pixar did well. I'm really concerned, though, because if they don't make a ton of money, we're not going to be able to get creative projects like this to come out. And the concept, for those that maybe don't know or aren't familiar with it, is it's a space fanatic with an active imagination finds himself on a cosmic misadventure where he must form new bonds with alien life forms, navigating a crisis of intergalactic proportions, and somehow discover who he is truly meant to be. That's the IMDb one. The Max Moser review is this kid who's a nobody wants to be pulled from the planet and gets pulled into essentially the intergalactic think tank is what I would call it, of every single type of species smartest people. And he convinces them through a series of accidents that you'll see that he's the smartest person and leader of Earth. And the conflict takes off from there. Really endearing, really loving. That's long-winded. I'll pass it back to you, Isaac.
Yeah, definitely a few things that I agree with you on there. So just for the numbers' sake, though, it only made 20.8 million in its opening weekend.
Wow, it made less than I thought. Oh my word.
I know, okay, right? Wow. And currently, this is like, so it officially opened June 20th. Officially worldwide, it's still only at 78 million right now. So it's not doing well at the box office. But I pretty much agree with pretty much everything you said. I do think it was a very cute and great original Pixar film, and I am very sad that it's not doing well at the box office, because, like you said, I think that is going to discourage studios from making original stuff like this. And I think this is what we need more of in, just movie theaters. And we're getting so much, I don't want to call it slop, but like remakes of movies and sequels and, stuff that's already based on an existing IP. An original movie like this is just a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
And while it didn't hit quite as hard for me as it probably did for you, I still thought it was fantastic. My kids loved it. Like you said, that moment at the end, the father-son moment, those moments always get me. So I definitely had a tear in my eye during that. And it's Pixar, so it's obviously great animation. It's very cute, charming. Everything about it is great. I just don't think it quite hit, like, I know Onward for me is one of those Pixar movies that like just hit, like it just got me. And I totally understand why it didn't hit that way for everybody else. So Elio, for me, is going to be one of those kind of like niche Pixar movies, I think, where some people, it's going to be one of their favorite movies. Other people, it's going to be kind of your standard run-of-the-mill Pixar movies, which, again, it's Pixar. So it's still elevated above a lot of studios out there. So I think it was fantastic. I would give it a 4.5 out of 6.
I recognize my bias. I think the military part of me really gives me a strong rating here. This has one of the best trope scenes when it comes to like a kid in a hallway, like a creepy kid in a hallway scene. One of the best scenes ever. They really nail that with there's a cloning mechanism and they have to do something with that. Really funny scene there towards the end. And I loved the introduction of Glorden. I thought that was the strongest character in this movie. Elio was strong, but Glorden really is the foil to Elio's main character. And the introduction is a classic, huge sandworm style, freaky looking thing that every time I've seen that in a movie, it's trying to eat me or kill me. And they flipped that trope on its head and made it cute and endearing and a friend. And I really enjoyed that. I thought that was a clever twist. I'm with you, Isaac. This is such a bummer that it didn't land with audiences, because this is what we want from these movies. I think it does the job. I think it's worth it. I think if you got young kids, go see it. Completely safe movie too, which I think is like,
Oh yeah,
it's weird to say, but these days, like, I think for some people that is a question. No issues or question marks for me with my kids in this movie. I thought this was awesome. My kids love it.
Right. And like you said, your kids aren't like normal moviegoers. So, the fact that they, were able to go and love that movie, that's amazing. So that's awesome.
Go see it. Go support it. Go support the
I would also recommend it. Yeah, go support these original movies, because I think we're eventually down the road, there's going to be less and less of them, unfortunately, if things keep going the way they do and theaters keep kind of declining generally. I think, unfortunately, that's going to just be the way it goes. So hopefully that doesn't happen, but that seems to be the trend that is happening right now. So we talked about Elio, got that out of the way. Shoo that right out of the door. Ironheart, guys. Whew. Just aired their last 3 episodes this week on Tuesday. We're currently recording on July 3rd, 2025. And 2 days ago, they dropped the last 3 episodes, 6 episodes, which, we've kind of had a trend of the 6 to 8 episode series that Disney and Marvel are putting out. A little bit of a bummer that it was 6 episodes, but this also is on the backside of all of their other Marvel shows. So they were able to see, how they did initially. And I think this show, honestly, was a bit of an afterthought for Marvel, and it showed in the marketing big time. They did not market this series almost at all. I saw maybe a trailer and an ad a couple weeks before it aired, and that was it. Like, Marvel did not push it at all. What were you guys' thoughts going into this? What are your thoughts about Ironheart, the character? Because I'm assuming, at least Max, I'm not sure about you, Mark, but I'm assuming you were familiar with the character Ironheart before, and she's been in the MCU and Wakanda forever and stuff like that. So what are you guys' thoughts about this series moving in? And Max, go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, Mark.
Go
ahead.
I had zero expectations going into this. I didn't really watch any trailers. All I knew I knew about Ironheart. I knew a little bit of her, or of the character in the comic books. Liked her in Wakanda Forever. To add on top of that, the only thing I really knew is Sacha Baron Cohen was cast in this, and that is it. I went into this just raw and ready to watch 6 episodes. That's where I was.
You knew about Sacha Baron Cohen?
Yeah, that was like a big rumor.
There was huge rumors about that probably early this year. Like, it was a while ago for sure.
Yeah, I guess in theory
I
knew
definitely
about
shared
those
memes in the group chat about him.
Yeah, so. No, I'm more so saying I'll piggyback right after that. I did not expect him to show up in this.
Oh yeah,
I too had low expectations. I too had this is going to be awful expectations.
Oh, and also I didn't know Red Hood was in it until like last week. So like
I knew Hood was in it.
I knew that's how little I like paid attention.
That's how little they marketed it too. Right. Like, I mean, they just didn't show anything. Like, I think we did get officially a trailer and then a couple clips like leading up to the show's premiere, but like, yeah, they did the bare minimum of marketing for this show. Like, I don't know, it was almost like a let's just get it over with, throw it on Disney Plus and be done with it type of thing.
Yeah, I did not expect Cohen to show up. I did not expect Ironheart to be anything. I did not expect this show to do well. Those that follow our show, I've basically since Captain America Brave New World been like, all right, these TV shows are not connected. I just need to assume they're their own thing moving forward. So my expectations were incredibly low. With Miss Marvel, I was so attached to that character that when the failures failed, it really hurt me because I felt like this is a betrayal of the character. I don't have this really tight allegiance to Riri Williams. I thought she was the weakest part of Wakanda Forever. And so I was a little more negative coming into this, that is the posture I came in with.
I think like from the small background of comics that I know of Riri Williams and then her introduction in Wakanda Forever, I definitely thought there was a lot of potential with this character, but just the way that Marvel has treated their TV shows and then the minimum marketing leading up to it, I was like, man, they are just, it seems like they're just giving up on it. So I was also not expecting much from this show. Pleasantly surprised, however. We did get a little clip before the show premiered that there was going to be magic in this show, and I won't get too much more into it until we get into spoilers, but there was a clip of basically Riri's suit, the Ironheart suit, and then like a magic HUD like display. So we knew there was going to be magic going into it. I'm pretty sure we all knew Hood was going to be the villain, except for Mark, apparently. So
I assumed a different villain was going to be involved, but
well, we'll talk about that in a bit.
I also assumed a different villain was going to be involved by episode 4.
But we have a few things to talk about, and we're going to go into spoilers. But first, I want to get your guys' 60-second thoughts, non-spoiler thoughts about Ironheart and what you guys thought of it.
Right.
Max, go ahead. I said it again, and then Mark just
Mark, no,
immediately.
I want Mark.
So
No, I
excited
want
to
Mark.
talk about it.
I want
amazing.
Mark. Go Mark. Yeah,
All right.
Mark first.
He's
this
so
is the
pumped.
first time I will ever say this about a Marvel show leading up to this point. You can clip it now. 6 episodes was enough. The time for each episode, enough. How they told the story is what I've wanted Marvel to tell it, the freaking DC Plus shows forever. You take a character we kind of know, you sprinkle in a little bit of what's happening throughout the whole universe. You don't like stand it alone like Moon Knight, and that's what freaking works, buddy. This show worked. I was surprised. I mean, it was a little slow in the beginning, and then it just heated up, and then, all right, we'll see. We don't know really what happened at the end, kind of. Like, we kind of do, but maybe we don't, because there's a lot going involved that's metaphysical here. But it almost rocked my socks off. If they would have thrown a bigger cameo in, probably would have been, chef's kiss. That was a big surprise I think Disney Plus gave to me for this show. So that's my review.
What's your rating, Mark?
I was telling my BO5 Kelly, like, I'm somewhere, and this is where, like, after what I just said, I'm somewhere between a 4.5 to a 5.5. It is just that big of a range. Like, there's a lot going on here where it's like, if you take away some of this, to me, what makes it a 5.5 is knowing some of or watching with the lenses of what the group, the Hood represents, and why those types of people would be there, and what types of people wouldn't be a part of it. I'll say it straight up. If you come through watching the show from a Christian point of view and seeing the occult aspect that the Hood basically represents, that's what made it so much more like, this is a show right up my alley. It's borderline to now it's like, are we going to move forward and get more scary, occult stuff going on if we're setting up this with the villain that we ended up seeing at the end? So I don't know.
Oh man, Mark, your rating is so great. Yeah, I did not care at all about Riri Williams coming into this.
Right.
I actually think they did, and again, maybe my algorithm on my phone just shows me Marvel stuff all the time, but I saw enough. I did not care about this character. I want to know what happens now. I'm like, what happens to her right now? I am so much more invested in Riri Williams after this, and that does the job. Mark, I love your point about the 6 episodes being a perfect blend. Isaac, I firmly disagree with you. I think they knew they had a win here, and I think that's why they broke it up into 3 and 3. I think they had a heavy lift marketing because everybody had the thought I had, and everybody got betrayed by all these other Disney Plus shows. That our show is, I think, a little nicer on the Disney Plus shows than most shows. That's what I'll say. But I think Ironheart was not stupendous, but I think it was good, and I have it higher. I have it higher rated than a lot of Marvel projects right now.
It's the boilerplate that almost every other Marvel Disney Plus show should have followed. That, in my opinion, like,
yes,
it just, the guts of it is what like Moon Knight should have been, what Miss Marvel should have been, what was the last one? Echo would have been one of them. Like, pretty much any Marvel show that didn't have more ties to the outside universe suffered. And this one proves that that's what it needed. So, in my opinion,
and I think this show honors Agatha all along and some heavy lifting it did in that show. And we'll talk about that. And the WandaVision thing, man, freaking A. I mean, they knew what I thought. and no spoilers.
That's hard. It's hard not to get into spoilers when we're talking about this already, but
I don't know how we can talk about this show without talking about episode 6 mostly. I just don't.
Right.
I don't
that's
know
what
how
I'm
I
saying.
can talk
Like, we're
about
doing
episodes
these
1
quick
through
so I can get into the spoiler warning, and we can just spill the beans then. Okay, guys, here we go. Just hold on. Hold on just a little bit longer. I agree with you guys on some points. I do think the 6 episodes was enough. I don't think that Marvel did them any favors leading up to it with marketing and with the introduction of Riri. And Wakanda Forever was, to me, was not a strong movie in general. So the fact that she was a weak character in a weak movie, does not do her any favors. Comic book Ironheart is pretty BA. Like, she's a great character. She's like smarter than Tony Stark, and there's like several arcs where Tony Stark is like, she's like everything that I couldn't be, basically. And that's where I like came into this, like, all right, now we're gonna get this like cool, not origin story, but like we're gonna get this cool story about like how she's becoming better than Tony Stark. And I feel like in that aspect kind of failed me a little bit, but I still agree with you guys in the fact that this was a better paced show than like almost all of the Disney Marvel shows. They didn't try to cram way too much into it. I like what you said, Mark, about including the broader, MCU in it rather than just inclusive only to their single character.
Right.
I agree with all of that. I just think in general, it was a good show. There are definitely a lot of like little things that I will talk about and nitpick later, but that episode 6 blew my mind. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Like, Max
No
said
doubt
something about it in our group chat. I was like, oh my gosh. And then I was like, oh crap, here we go. And I watched it and I was like, oh my gosh, you gotta be kidding me. Like, what the heck? So with that all out of the way,
I'm giving this a 4.8 out of 6. I think there are some people who may come and listen to this for the non-spoiler review. I think if you're a Marvel Cinematic Universe fan, you need to watch this show.
Yes.
And especially with what is coming up in Secret Wars.
And potentially what the next saga is going to be. If the next saga is going to involve a lot more of the supernatural, this is kind of your tease to that.
I would agree. I would agree. What's your rating, Isaac?
I think my rating is a 4.5 out of 6.
Okay.
It's still good. Honestly, if we're ranking our Disney Plus shows, it's not bottom 3. That's what I'll say. It's not top 3 either. It kind of sits in that middle range, I feel like. But it's still solid.
I'll just say mine's a 5. I'll just go right in the middle of what I said. So my ranking's a 5. So
and that's a pretty good range. 4.5, 4.8, 5.
Like that. And I'll be transparent with you. Going into this, I did not expect any of us to rate higher than a 3. So kudos to those writers and producers, because that's a heavy lift to get us on board with that, given what's happened.
Right.
Given our
seriously, it's not even their fault.
We've been more jaded as every show comes out. It's true. It's very true.
Mm-hmm.
No, far more critical.
Non-spoiler people need to hear this. Like, we have attacked the Disney Plus shows. I'm with you. I love what you said, Mark. I think your review is really great. This is so important for the future. This is such an important show, and it leaves me with more questions than answers, and that's what these shows should be doing.
Okay, here is your official spoiler warning for Ironheart. Go watch it, and then come back and listen. Tell us what you think.
This is...
Prepare yourself.
An Infinity Bros.
Prepare yourself.
Spoiler. Warning.
All right, guys.
You ready for the?
No. I gotta say something real quick.
No, I need Max to have. I need Isaac to have the censor button to go to bleep me out. But you go first, Max.
No, I was just going to say one note I made that I think is important when talking about spoilers is I think a huge reason people are struggling with the Marvel Cinematic Universe right now is the rewatchability of things. I think it's when you got excited for Endgame, it was just you got to watch 20 movies. Now that's a heavy lift, but like 20 movies you could do in a month. You have to watch shows now. And I think Disney grossly overplayed that. And so I think just that's part of this conversation too. Is I actually don't think you need to rewatch this show. I think you need it one time. I think you need to watch scenes in this show. And I think that's really important. And I just wanted to make that caveat too, that I didn't get to say that non-spoiler. So go ahead, Mark, go ahead. Now we can talk about it.
Motherfucking Mephisto.
You had to start with that. I mean, like...
We finally got him.
We
got him.
talked about Mephisto for literally like a year when WandaVision came out. Like every single episode, you guys were like just Mephisto, 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 and we
And he was
finally got
almost
him.
going to
There he
be
is.
in the Zeus role
Yeah,
for
right.
Love and Thunder. Like that's almost where we got him. Yeah. Anyways, he's here, and buckle up, everybody.
And they did such a great job. I know we're going backwards here, but just to get the cat out of the bag, they did
had to.
such a good job of selling me that it was Dormammu. I totally bought it. I was actually disappointed. I was like, "Oh, it's Dormammu? Crap. Okay, whatever. I guess this is it. I guess we're going to see Dormammu take over the hood and if they had gone that way, it would have sucked. It would have really sucked. And they totally bamboozled me.
I knew with Sacha Baron Cohen being cast, it's like he's showing up. I don't know what he's going to look like, but he's going to be Mephisto. When we see him, Mephisto. Yeah,
man. When I saw that drawing of Dormammu, I thought it was over. I was like, nope. I thought it might be Sacha Baron Cohen, but he's going to play Dormammu. And I was like, they're just going to keep teasing us, and they know what they're doing. And I got to tell you, man, the character they introduced here, the magic character, was such a win for them.
Right.
No, you're talking about what's her name? Zelma?
Zelma was the saving grace of this show.
She was good. Yeah,
she was great. Her store was great. I loved the idea that she just took them somewhere and then all of a sudden we're talking. Like that episode changed everything for the whole series. When they went down into another dimension, it was at that point that and she just casually name drops Doctor Strange and Carmitage. You're right, Mark. That is how shows should be doing it.
And that's the thing. This is it. Like, we get like the mom of Zelma is like, well, I trained at the Carmitage. And then I just left because I wanted to raise my child. And then you taught your child the sorcery you knew. So like that, like to me, like that's enough. It's like, okay, we have a tie where like this person, whether or not she knows anyone's still there, or for Doctor Strange will for sure know her. So like that's the tie. That's all we need. You don't need Benedict showing up.
I feel like just said that plenty on our podcast too. Is like we don't need to show a whole scene of something else happening in the MCU. Just reference, like sprinkle in the references, places, and that's enough for us.
I think the first line. The line about her, Riri Williams just goes guns hot at Tony Stark, and it makes no sense. And that's
if Tony Stark had no money, where would he be? And she's right though.
No, she's not. Iron Man 3 addressed all this. This is ridiculous. She is not right. That is ridiculous. Yeah. That is a poorly written thing. If you want to make a jealousy,
it's not a poorly written thing because someone like Riri Williams would think that and would say that.
That's fair. That's fair.
It's not right per se, but that's what she's feeling, and that's I think that's totally valid. Yeah,
I hated it. I hated the writing. I think it was not fair to the guy that literally sacrificed himself.
Yeah, but when he ended up in a cave, if he didn't have a $1 billion,
whatever, he got himself out of the cave.
He did. I'm not negating that, but her point was, if he didn't grow up wealthy, would he have become the same person he did?
I understand.
No, he would have became Dr. Doom. That's what would have happened because our Tony Stark is Victor Von Doom. And let's not get that wrong.
I understand why she's saying it. Right? So
we're going to find out Mephisto brought Tony Stark's dad a baby, and it's going to be a baby with Robert Downey Jr.'s face on it that he hands.
With like a goatee. Yeah,
with a goatee.
Just like Robert Downey Jr.
I found him close to the Dead Sea.
I really despise that, but I so deeply respected the quantity of callbacks to other things in this show. The quantity of times she brought up Hank Pym, the quantity of times she brought up Tony Stark. That is what you're supposed to do with these shows, man. And man, I loved it. And her suit was great. Like, I just want to make sure I clearly say that. I'm gonna go back to episode 1. We'll come back to deep dive Mephisto here shortly. Let me start in episode 1.
Yeah.
I think the twist at the end of episode 1 of it being her friend being the AI was such a great move.
That was sweet. Yeah.
And the act was. Go ahead.
My opinion on that is I didn't like it initially, and then it made me upset when we lost her down the road. Like that's
made you care about her.
It was so good.
That's my progression.
You went through the same arc that Riri did, really.
Yeah, pretty much
she didn't like it at first either. And then by the time she lost her, she was freaking out and was willing to literally sacrifice everything to get her back. which
And this show
We'll come
does
back to
such
that.
a
I
great,
do have opinions on that though, on that portion.
yeah, this show does such a great job of knowing the tropes of the Disney Plus shows. And sometimes it leans into them. Like Riri's suit gets an upgrade at the end of episode 5. Yeah, that's pretty
The
beat for beat
montage.
with everything else.
Tropey.
Yeah, that's pretty
montage.
tropey.
We're
But
building
like
a new suit. We're gonna
the big
get
question
some
is,
magic
It's gonna be
involved.
epic.
the little kid who's resourceful is going to go get sandwiches for everyone. Oh, the magic
Guys,
girl's
I
on the
found this
ceiling.
sling ring in the junkyard. Let's use it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, mom doesn't know what she's doing, but she's there for emotional support because now they love each other. And the magic girl's on the ceiling, not on the floor. That's funny. I just that whole montage. Sorry, we're going back to episode 1. I thought the Natalie character was paramount for this show too. I thought Natalie is what made the first 3 episodes work for me. Zelma's her
Zelma.
name.
Yep.
Yeah, she made the last 3 episodes work for me. I thought Riri's character to me is so sassy, and I love her foil to Tony Stark. Tony starts with everything, has to go to nothing. She's starting with nothing, has to go to everything. And I really enjoyed that. And it made complete sense when we got to the end with Mephisto, why she made the decision she made. And I was like, no.
Even up to the second that she shook his hand, I was like, she's not doing that. Like, she's not doing that. She's smarter than that. Like, that's what I did love about this, is that it did subvert expectations in a good way. I did not expect her to make that deal at the end at all. That's why it blew my mind. I was just like, really? And it totally, like, you're right though. It totally makes sense that everything that she's been through and in the show,
The
like,
devil's very deceiving and can show you exactly what you want. And that's what we
Here's
got.
the thing.
prowls around like a roaring lion, you know?
I hate the line of Tony Stark is a billionaire-ish, but that motivation translates the whole way down the line for every decision she makes. So even if I don't like it, Mark, you nailed it. It makes a ton of sense that she has that perspective. And it totally motivates building the AI. Then it motivates doing it because I can. Oh, I can do it because of my dad. And then at the end, I don't want to lose anybody else. It all made complete sense. And dude, like, even the characters, Mark, the side characters on the team, this is putting people in sexuality positions literally to represent sexuality. Like, there is no...
Well, that's not how I looked at it, Max.
I did not look at it. I looked at it as these characters represented these sexuality figures. There was no backstory to these people that was like even remotely giving me interest in the character. I'm not talking politics or religion here. I'm simply saying I felt like these people were put in here just as like twirling their mustache villains that were just there. And then at the end, and I just felt like there was no substance to their characters. And if you look at the characters in the comics versus what we got in the screen, it doesn't translate in the slightest. I'm okay with gender bending. I'm okay with turning a different lens on a character. I got no issue with that.
You weren't mad that Slug wasn't a giant fat person?
No, I think I was more mad that Slug's backstory was, I'm from Madripoor.
If just
that was their backstory.
Slug's in the comics, Slug's abilities are gifted intelligence and the use of his immense fat. Those are his 2 abilities. Just an
Beautiful.
FYI, everybody. Could you imagine if that was there instead of Slug, who was there?
But Mark, the worst offense of this is the opening scene when she's taking the Ironheart suit out of MIT, and the AI art is calling itself gay art.
Right.
I'm just like, it doesn't make sense. It's putting this in for no reason. I said this when we talked about Agatha all along. If you want to do it, fine. You're going to have to give me a backstory that works with this character to sell me on this. Like we talked about this with Death and Agatha. A backstory will make it, I'll lean in as a viewer if I've got a backstory. I just don't think I don't think at all there was a backstory here. And but Mark, to your credit, at the end, it makes complete sense why he chose who he chose in episode 6. So maybe the whole point of it was that. Maybe the whole point of it was he was like, I'm literally going to pick the individuals who would be on the furthest outskirts because this is how I feel. And this is the type of team I want to take with me as I rise to the top. Maybe.
My thought with the team is my went more like this realm when I went more religious, where the hood clearly, like, and this is my thought from the beginning. The hood is something from a demon or Satan himself or Mephisto in this case, and the team you had to put together had to be a bunch of people that were pretty much loners or just a pair with nothing else left, and that's where he got him. He got him at their lowest point.
Yep.
And then was able to give them everything they needed to make them loyal. And that's why he talks about how he likes loyalty, but the hood is always about himself. No matter he brought people in that could be disposed easily, and that's what cult leaders do. And that's what I think was a great representation of that. And then he also brought in people that had no real faith background, because he couldn't bring in people that maybe have practiced Christianity or any other type of faith where they're anti anything bad demon wise. And I think that was, so I'm assuming some raider had to pinpoint that, be like, this is why we're going to have this group of people, because it really wouldn't make sense if we had some loof in there that practice Christianity. And going back to this show also, like we've now touched on pretty much every MCU, or all the MCU content we have clearly touched that there are gods out there, and pretty much every religion has a god in a sense. So it's like, to me, it's like, is there a Marvel character that like their power, just like Captain Falcon, is from their faith in the Lord? Like, are we gonna get that?
Doubtful.
Penance. I mean, his is a little extreme, but like that would be sweet if we got him in. It's never gonna happen in the MCU. But just to touch on the team, though, I was actually okay with having next to no backstory with the team, because
we didn't need it.
Yeah, in the end, I mean, like, he just dismisses them. Like Mark said, they're disposable to him. And if we had gotten all that backstory for the last 3 episodes to focus on Riri and not touch on them at all, I think it just would have been a little bloated, maybe. Like, I mean, there was good pacing. It didn't feel overstuffed. I don't think we needed to do too much with that.
Here's my argument to that. My argument is Ant-Man. My argument is those characters in Ant-Man each had distinguishable personality characteristics that made you go, that's a funny team. They're quirky, they're goofy. I'll take quirky, I'll take off the wall, I'll take different. I get that. I understand the world we live in now. I understand people are going to want to represent those specific groups in these things. What I'm saying is you can't just tell me I'm from Madripoor, I'm a really, really good hacker, click, click, click with your fingernails, and sell me that's even remotely close to what T.I. did in Ant-Man. He was hilarious in Ant-Man.
But did you want 20 minutes of Slug's backstory? Like, I mean, that's another thing.
No. I want that line to be better written. That's what I'm saying. I want the introduction of those characters to be better written. I want their motivations to make more sense. And I want at the end to feel when he kicks them out. I want to feel that pain. I didn't feel the pain.
I didn't feel the pain either, because I don't think they were important characters, and I was okay with it. So,
and that's okay too. But I'm saying I would have felt the pain if something had happened to the Ant-Man characters, and I think that is what Riri.
I do actually have a problem with a different character, though. We got Eldon Ehrenreich, I think is how you pronounce his name, as Zeke Stain.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
great! I loved him right away, and then they just like after like he got out of jail and was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna throw all the bionics. Like, after he was so against doing that, he just flipped in a second and was like, yeah, put it all in my body, and now I'm gonna go kill Riri. Like, that to me was like,
kill Riri.
Yeah, and then to not kill Riri, exactly. That to me was too fast of a flip for him. I was like, ooh, okay. I really liked him leading up to that too. I was like, man, I love that he was like, oh yeah, Obadiah's my dad. I don't want to be anything like him. I wish he would have kept that like drive towards the end of the show and like, been a little bit less willing to do it. Like, he just was like, yeah, okay, yeah, you guys get me out of jail. I'll do whatever you want.
You control my body trope was like weird. And like, I was cracking up watching it because Zeke Stain looked like a total Temu version of Bucky. Just like, blue hat, running around.
He looks exactly like the guy who would be a robot controlled by the bad guy. Like,
yeah,
That's like, if you gave me that description and I saw him, I'd be like, oh yeah, that makes
Yeah.
total sense.
Yeah, I thought the reveal of who he was well written.
That was cool. That was
I
well done.
love what were your guys' thoughts on the whole world has just thought that Stain was the good guy.
That was a great.
That
I
was-
think that's a great
was
bit
cool.
right there,
I love that.
where it's like, oh yeah, we like, yeah, if you haven't really caught up, because my first thought was like, wait, he didn't die in a play. How did he die? Like that made me think about it, and then he like says like, oh yeah, that's right. Tony basically kills him because he was trying to kill Tony, and yeah, the world doesn't know what exactly happened to Obadiah, I guess. So
I love that, and it actually reminded me of Andor. I'm not gonna like spoil too much for people who haven't watched Andor, but like they go really deep into like the Empire propaganda and what the Empire is telling everybody in the Empire to think versus what actually happened. And it reminded me of that in here. Is like, obviously we saw in Iron Man 1, Obadiah Stane becomes Ironmonger and gets killed by Tony, and now we're finding out that like the whole world thinks he was like still the best guy ever and like amazing, and he is wrestling with that. He doesn't want to be anything like his dad, but everybody else around him is like, oh, your dad was such a great guy, like how are you staining his legacy by doing all this stuff? And it was a really cool contrast, and I really did appreciate that about his character. I don't like how they handled the robot typical bad guy thing, but all in all, I did like his character, and we got Han Solo in
So
Marvel.
when he first, I didn't know he was in the show,
MCU.
and when we first saw him, I'm like, guy kind of looks like Han Solo. Like I'm not kidding. That's literally
familiar, right?
Like I was like, why did like? And then I looked at him, I was like, oh, he was Han Solo at one point,
Yeah,
like 10 years ago. But
I liked him as a character though. Overall, bummer how his story ended, but
well, he's still alive.
He's still alive. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I bet we see him again.
Oh, for sure.
I hated his design. I thought it was terrible.
Yeah,
it was just.
He becomes the tropiest bad guy ever. Like it's just
And if you're gonna do the whole I'm really passive on the front end and I can't confront my neighbor shtick only to turn on a heel and just all of a sudden destroy your flowers. Like
however,
that doesn't work for me either. It was just so like, ugh,
is this a tease to getting the Hellfire Club in the MCU?
Potentially.
If we're gonna get mutants, then one would assume he might be a part of that. So
one would assume.
Who knows? Can
we talk about the elephant in the room? That is, where the heck are they going with this Mephisto thing long term? Like
that is a great question.
And here's, I loved it, but then like days removed from watching it, my question is, why this? Why this show? Why? Like, were they just like, we have nothing, so we got to throw a bone to these people to make this show watchable and interesting to people? I think they didn't have to do Mephisto. I'm glad they did because I'm glad we got him.
Who would you've seen as it like? Would you like? You already said you would have been mad if it was Dormammu, but like
I
who
like
else?
The magic
if you're gonna
thing.
go with the supernatural route, who else would you place in that from the MCU? That's kind of like, all right, yeah, he would make sense to.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it would have been really cool to see. And I know, like, Mandarin's dead already, right? Like, I guess for me, the next one's Mordo. Could you have found a way?
That's not a bad one. That would have been
to get Mordo back for this, and have him be the big bad, and you get a quality villain, and then that can lead right into another connection with Doctor Strange.
So this is why, and I think I mentioned it. I don't know if I mentioned it before. Yes, I mentioned it when we first talked about Mephisto. This is why I think you stick with Mephisto. If you go comic book storyline, you go back to because we don't physically see Tony Stark being born. We just know that his mom's pregnant. What if there was a deal done to get them a child, and Mephisto stole what is Doctor Doom, because there's no Doctor Doom in the 616, and that's actually who our Tony Stark was Victor Von Doom as an infant given to the Starks, and our Tony Stark is actually Victor Von Doom.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you no, that's not happening because there's not enough time.
That's way too smart.
It's really great. I love it. It's just there's not enough time.
There's not enough time.
No,
not enough time, but you want Slug's 20-minute background.
No, I didn't say 20 minutes. I need
20 minutes of Slug's background, but no, I can't.
From that
can't do baby Victor Von Doom being Tony Stark. I can't do that.
No. You're mincing words here. I didn't ask for 20 minutes. You just kept bringing. We want 20
Hour
more minutes.
hour
I don't want-
45. That's all you need for Slug.
I don't
Maybe
want
throw
that.
Clown
I
in there
said
for
I
a little
like-
bit. The Blood Sisters,
Just extend the
brothers. I
series
don't
to
know.
8 and give him 2 episodes for the
I
team.
see 2
Like,
episodes
just-
of them.
Yeah, let's just.
I
do a
want to see
backstory
him
on
messing around with
everybody.
magic, or maybe throw a mutant in there just for fun.
Totally. Yeah, that's not what I'm looking for either. I think, Mark, Mephisto is the next phase after these Avengers movies. I think you nailed that on the front end. Here's the biggest one of the questions I had for you, Mark, is who else is he talking to? Who else is he working deals with?
Ghost Rider.
There's no way.
100% Ghost Rider is involved.
Ghost Rider for sure.
And that would lead us to Midnight Suns.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, actually, on the Ghost Rider line, you guys, like, who else would be in that place that Mephisto was in? Like, one thought that came to me would be like Blackheart, or like a Mephisto related, like one of his like spawns or sons or whatever, like that, something like that, that would eventually down the road lead to Mephisto. But honestly, it worked out great. I was totally fine with Mephisto being the guy. Did you guys feel like it was slightly anticlimactic, or do you, because to be completely honest, I think I saw a couple things that could have been like spoilers and scrolled past them real quick. So when I finally got to it, I was like, oh shoot, that was a spoiler. Dang it. But did you guys feel like the reveal was like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing? Or what were your feelings in that moment?
It
when
was
finally
subtle just enough to like, who is this guy? Like, if you're just
Right.
a blind watcher, like, we didn't need a big reveal. We needed the soft reveal where it's like, okay, this dude clearly is powerful.
Mhm.
He clearly has lived for a very long time.
The fact that they saved his name for like that very end conversation was
Like,
that
the mystery was the
that
better part of that.
That's
Right.
knowing your audience. They knew what we were talking about years ago. It's knowing that Doctor Strange, people were wondering if he was going to be in there. It's knowing what's coming with Doctor Doom being magic and tech. That's another thing that, Mark, that is a path that this movie, I
Mhm.
was curious if it would follow.
Yeah, right.
I just think it's such a great way to introduce the character. Like, I asked the question, why this show? And as I've thought about it more, on one hand, I'm like, man, it would have been cool if we could have done this in WandaVision. And I think they realized in hindsight, they probably, I think if they could go back, they would have. Full transparency. I think they would have. But I do understand why they're doing this. I hope the next Spider-Man deals with this. That's what I'm really hoping. I'm hoping the next Spider-Man deals with this. I hope like Madison and She-Hulk. She talked about, I made a promise with a demon. I can't talk about it. Like, I hope it's her. Like,
That would be wild.
Also,
would be
Mephisto
wild.
could be the one pulling the strings in the Fantastic Four universe.
potentially, but like, what about Black Panther 3? What does Shuri say about this? Like, is he talking to Shuri? Is that how we get the new Black Panther?
Well, see, okay, here are the other things. Here's what, yeah, you're right, and that could be also what leads to Illuminati, where you're like, that's where that Black Panther goes around. But like, if you go with, Mephisto, the where his hands are is, we got Thor, we got Ghost Rider, we got the Fantastic Four, we got Scarlet Witch and Vision, we got Daredevil, we got pretty much every Avenger, Spider-Man. Like, there are so many characters in Mephisto's lore that he could touch everyone. And that's another thing I liked with the times we got him interacting, like in the diner, is it, to me, both the Hood and Riri both look like they're kind of like in a daze, like they weren't really, like, they couldn't really exist there long type of. That's how the vibe I got.
Sure.
Where, how do we know he hasn't brought other people we've already seen as heroes or villains and made deals with them? Like,
I mean, along with the 100 on the top 100 Forbes list, the 14 presidents, the 3 popes, like what else did he say that he's made deals with? Like, that was a cool line. I was like, oh yeah, okay, that was sweet. But yeah, no, that's a great point. That would be really interesting to find out if there were people that have sat down with him and made.
I
deals
wonder if he's just going to go around to heroes. Like, this is, to me, the Nick Fury. This is the Nick Fury of where this all goes.
maybe
This is your next phase,
and
Nick
maybe
Fury.
he's like, I know Mephisto's or Galactus is coming, so I need to. Maybe he's like, I got to get a group together. That'd be wild. But also, in Secret Wars, he tries to steal the Beyonders' powers,
forming a team.
so that also could be how he seeps into Secret Wars.
But even like, not just making a team, what if he is trying to take over and he watches Doctor Doom and he's like, all right, Doctor Doom's out of the picture, I'm ready to go. What if he's just trying to take care of the potential future people so he can make the future less strong?
Maybe.
I think there's some real opportunity there. Look, the other elephant in the room in all this with Mephisto is the magic power set that this all introduced. So Natalie gets deleted. And why did she get deleted? Great question.
Well,
It's
no, not a
clear
great question.
because-
Not a great question. It's a simple answer. When Zelma says, if I do this, you're gonna lose something. You have to give up something because she's doing a demonic. You go this realm, Max.
Yep, I know.
If you're gonna go into that realm, you're gonna lose something. We knew that was something was gonna happen. We knew Riri was gonna lose something because she's choosing to let this magic flow into her machine. So she was well aware of it, and if you're a smart audience, you knew that was something bad was gonna happen that was gonna affect
You took
Riri,
my
and
bullet
that's-
point, so I'll jump to the question I have since you took my bullet point. Do we think Mephisto deleted her to set Riri up for this question?
Absolutely. Because
Mm.
I do too. I do too.
As the devil's shaking your hand, he's giving you the finger under the table. And you should know
Golly,
this, Max.
this is
That's a clippable quote right there.
mean?
Love that.
If Mephisto's shaking your hand, just know that he's going to stab you in the back when he gives you a hug.
man.
Classic
Max
Mark
knows.
stuff right here.
Let's talk about this trade that he makes. I think this was the best written part of the whole series to date. The last 20 minutes of this show were so great. From the sacrifice of Natalie to the fight.
It's not a sacrifice. She openly
It was
chose
a trade.
to go forward
It was
with
a trade. It was a trade. Yeah, right. The fight with Hood was great. The backstory of Hood was great. How it was just random. He's just like, and he was just a guy. I kind of thought I thought his plan, full transparency, was like trying to get something for something. He just wanted his dad's empire. And it was really just lackluster, but it made complete sense. And I loved that.
It made sense with the vibe because like he just seemed like a small minded villain.
Yeah.
And he didn't have this big grand scheme to like take over the world or anything like that. It was like literally just to like get revenge on his dad.
He had selfish
That's all.
desires, and Mephisto saw that, and he knew this guy could convince
Exploited it,
other people that were lost souls to then when they died, he was able to collect their souls. Because that's what Mephisto gains his power, is more souls he collects. So that's why he's willing to trade these items in the hopes that he knows that these people are going to do bad.
Mephisto expert on the podcast here, Mark. That's great.
Hey, when we were promised Mephisto back in WandaVision, some people deep dived into his kind of lore.
Mark,
so
no, Mark, you're right. Mark, absolutely, you're right. We were 1,000% teased this.
Oh
his name was name dropped in Agatha all along.
Yeah,
and so like this isn't a surprise that he's here. It's more of a surprise that he was here in this moment with this
show.
thing. Yeah.
Like if you would have told us 6 months ago that Ironheart was going to be a magic theme show, like we'd all been like, "What? Why? Like what?"
Okay, that's another thing. I don't know if we really topped on, but like that's like her whole thing is Riri's like, I need to find power source that just keeps going, like because she can't build an arc reactor, she doesn't have the Wakanda tech, so
Hold
she's
on,
like,
Mark,
I gotta get magic.
Mark, you mean the arc reactor that was built with billions in a cave?
No,
I thought she was that way. I thought
well,
Tony
she
Stark
wasn't
was
that desperate. It wasn't life and death for her. It
Billions
wasn't life
in
and death.
equipment in the cave. So
Well, she didn't have she didn't have shrapnel in her heart that was going to go kill her. So like she didn't.
Yeah.
She didn't need to make one.
Yeah, the trauma of her dad and her best friend dying.
No, she didn't. She wasn't willing to put the hard work. She was willing to do the easy route and find some of that new magic to then make a sacrifice to.
That's actually a good point. She went the easy route and went to get magic. There you go.
She did cut corners on that. Yeah, you're right.
She found a portal and she went with it.
There you go. Yeah.
It's all about those portals.
She legitimately like that's what happened. I mean,
well, we let's backtrack a little bit. We talked about the Hood a little bit. What did you guys think of Anthony Ramos as the Hood, and did you find him a compelling villain? We kind of touched on it a little bit.
He was a great selfish villain. I felt like my only gripe, and it's probably superficial, is like the scene where he takes his shirt off and he's like shredded. And I'm like, we better see him work out. And we not once saw him working out. And I'm like, how does this guy stay shredded like this?
Maybe Mephisto was giving him muscles.
And maybe, but
maybe
cheap muscles, magic muscles.
I did really like his power set though with the bending bullets thing. I mean, it's always been such an odd character, like in the comics and stuff. But I thought that translated pretty well to to the screen, actually. So I thought that was cool.
I thought the actor was fine. I thought the foil to Riri was great. I understand why they chose that villain. I thought the execution was meh, but we've nailed it. He was a puppet. This was a clear. This is a puppet. He served his purpose as a puppet. It was weird how he kind of went back and forth with his team, but then the backstory made a lot of sense. Yeah, I thought this was just a glorified goon running around. One of the goons that
basically
Batman would be
is.
like,
I mean, even in the comics, that's basically what he is too. So
yeah.
But if you saw the end credits scene, I mean, that's what's kind of nifty. It's like, where is he going to with all
that's
this?
what I was going to next. Exactly. So he comes to Zelma in her shop, and he obviously is seeking magic to make him powerful again. So like, where is that leading to? Is this another loose end that we're never going to see in the MCU again?
100% this is a loose end, or it's Strange Academy.
No.
It's either that or Strange Academy.
Or
okay.
Why we just talked about him, the kind of the almost bad guy in the first in Doctor Strange, the
Mordo.
Or we finally get him coming back and he's putting a team together to come, and that might be tying into
everybody's
Doctor Strange.
assembling teams these days.
I don't buy it. I buy more. I buy that one. His debt is not yet paid to Mephisto, so Mephisto's calling him back. He's going to be a side character for Mephisto. If it's anybody, it's not going to be Mordo.
Additionally, hang on, how about this? Chances has Ghost Rider been cast
by Marvel?
A lot of people saying Ryan Gosling is.
Is there any chance that this dude? I mean, granted, they've named him, and he's actually the Hood. So that makes sense.
He's not. He doesn't have the gravitas, and he wasn't good enough. No, he's not good enough.
He's not Nick Cage, so there can't be a Ghost Rider in this universe.
Thank you for saying the thing out loud that we all were thinking. I think he was fine. I don't think he was bad or good. I just think he was fine. I think he
served his purpose
for this show. But his debt's going to be paid to Mephisto, if anybody. I think it's a Strange Academy show. Like, are they building a TV show of side characters that go to Strange Academy and Dr. Benedict Cumberbatch shows up at the beginning and end? I don't know. I think it's there. Be fine. Yeah, exactly.
You have Wong back.
Yep.
Or we find out that Wong was a Skrull all along.
No, that ship has sailed. The Skrull thing is dead.
It's dead. Bury it.
Skrull Watch 2025 is long gone. Long gone, Mark.
Those are some
that
good
died after episode 3.
Absolutely
Mephisto Watch 2025 is back on the table.
Do you ever think we're going to get a little more clarity on why am I blanking on his name?
I don't even know what you're going to say, but I'm going to say no.
Cheadle's character. Why am I blanking on Brody, yeah. Brody.
Unlike exactly when he became a Skrull.
Well, we kind of get exactly that, but I mean more like the fallout, like him coming back into the world.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, that's another loose end that they're never going to talk about again.
Nice.
I think they just want to never mention Secret Invasion again because it was so poorly received that everybody's just like, ugh, please. Let me forget about that show.
No, it was terrible. It was awful. I think this is a great introduction to a character that can do a lot of long-term damage in a lot of shows, in a lot of movies. And Sacha Baron Cohen can carry a villain role. He could carry a big bad role in seasons in a phase 6. Mark, what if the TV shows just have him as the villain? What if he's not going with the big picture? What if it's
like, oh gosh, are you telling? Okay, hang on. No, you've already sold me on it. I've already written 5 seasons of different shows. So basically, you're following different heroes and or villains, and somehow Mephisto is in all of them, and it crescendos into a big crossover event with the 5 or 7 shows that you make, and they're just simple 6-episode arcs, and then you have like a big 6-episode like connection arc. That would be genius. Only if they're willing to do that.
They've already said that they're scaling back on the amount of stuff they're doing, though. So I feel like the shows are going to be like cut down to a bare minimum. Like
you just do what Netflix did, where you just had like 4 characters that you followed. You did it very well, and then you crescendoed it after a few seasons of each to a big story end to it. So
yeah,
could be done.
That'd be great.
I think I said it before. I think he's the Nick Fury of this. I think it's there, and I don't know if it's going to be big picture, But I think little picture, this could be a path to actually make these shows worthwhile.
Or it could be a setup to Midnight Suns, where he's like the big bad
That
for
too,
that.
right? It could be Midnight Suns. It could be Ghost
And that's where
Rider.
you
It
get
could
like if
be
you have the you have the mutants by then, it's like then you have a team of like Doctor Strange, Punisher, Ghost Rider, Wolverine, Moon Knight,
well,
and then they're
Mark.
battling
The next
supernatural. You know, it'd be
Mark. The
nice,
next
it'd be cool,
the next
whatever.
Spider-Man movie is called Spider-Man Brand New Day, and his comic with Spider-Man is One More Day. Like, what are the chances he shows up in that movie?
Yeah, but like Spider-Man's already had his like one more day with the No Way Home. Like he already had like
Totally,
everything erased. So
totally.
I don't
Yeah.
know about the Spider-Man thing.
Revamping it doesn't make much sense. I'm just more so saying, what are the chances he stops by and does something small? Because that's the other MO Marvel does here, is they'll do like these little side things to set up their TV shows.
And
But
with
I
Doctor
know they've
Strange
said they're
potentially in
coming
a
back.
different dimension, you would have someone watching some of these heroes. Just saying.
Yeah, I
Just putting
can't
that out
believe I
there.
care about Riri Williams.
I'm very
I
happy
can't
I
believe
watched a show. That's where I'm at. Like I'm just like
Yeah.
there's so many weeds to go down here when you bring in the supernatural like this. It is just insane crazy.
Well, here's the thing though. I still
Insane
don't really
crazy.
care about Riri herself as a character. Like I
Yeah,
still
yeah.
think she's a kid. Like she's just doing kid stuff, like doing stupid things.
She's a young adult
And
in college.
well, she was
She's
like 16 when she got into MIT, wasn't she? Like
Well,
she's
she's got to
still
be 18 by now,
like a
right?
young.
she just.
I
I
don't know
think
how old she is.
Riri's character herself is unfortunately weak. Like she's always a side. Like this show is going to be known for Mephisto.
Right.
Sorry to break it to you.
Well,
man.
it doesn't matter, but that's how you keep her alive to it all. Like to her character, I mean, not like physically
Sure.
alive.
But part of my disappointment with Riri as a character is like that first episode when she's like doing that like test or initiation in the elevator. That was sweet. That's exactly what I would want or expect from her. And then the rest of the show, she kind of just does like normal stuff. Like she doesn't do like when, especially in the fight scene when Hood sends all his like, goons after her. Like she's just trying to fight them. Like what are you doing? Like you're a tech genius. Like build something to fight them. And
Yeah,
in her
but if
defense,
she
she
had all
does
the
do that
money,
one time. Like she has like the bazooka like pipe thing and the
right?
fire extinguisher. That was the one that was like, okay, that's like what she should do. But she's like trying to like actually like physically fight the people that are good at
Okay.
fighting. Like what are you
There's
doing?
there's
here?
my one.
Like,
Gr-
that
okay,
was
my
that
big
part
gripe
was like,
is-
oh my gosh.
I'm with you. I'm gonna piggyback on that. My big gripe was that scene because with the two people, the Bloods. Every scene we got with them fighting, they fought groups of people, and clearly in this timeline,
Yeah,
security guards
he's
are no
taking it
longer
on,
in
no
shape,
problem.
muscly men. They're just random people who are obese, like me, and just can take them all down. And like they have force, they can really punch
no
and
problem.
stuff like that. Clown apparently doesn't really know how to make explosives because in that scene in the White Castle, which I loved, it was in a White Castle, all the explosives really like didn't do any major damage. Like it, like she didn't like she could still hear when her explosive blew up next to her. When one blew up next to Riri, like it barely did any shrapnel. So it's like, well, your explosive might suck. But then yeah, the Blood Sisters or whatever, if they were.
And that was a
Anyways,
terribly
move on.
choreographed fight too.
Couldn't
Like it was
take them
just
down because we
bad.
definitely never got a scene where Riri, like an Ant-Man, learned to fight. So like, how is she out muscling and out maneuvering? Unless someone else was there
There's always an unless
facilitating her fate to make sure she got out of there alive.
Oh, there you go. There it is. Okay, see that's where it would. That's the only way it would make sense because it definitely did not make sense if she was actually fighting them,
outmaneuvering them. That would be.
Riri is undisciplined. She is rude. She doesn't let other people in, and she struggles greatly with loyalty. And it's going to be difficult for her as a hero to overcome those things because now we have two movies of this show, or two projects of this showcase. You could kind of revamp it after the first one. I hope to see her change that. I hope to see them change that with her because I do think she's important. I do think this arc allows for that change to occur, though, with what she's on with Natalie. Natalie coming back, Mark, is the other thing that opens up a lot of things. Could we see other characters get rebirthed because of Mephisto? Like, could we see in Doomsday? Did Doomsday bring back They'll bring back a Tony Stark or a Captain America, but it's going to cost one of you.
That's a
And
great
that's the arc going
thought.
into phase
But
7.
the story, like the writing for that would be like, well, why would Mephisto be willing to do that? Does a hero's soul give him more power?
Doctor Strange?
But I don't think Doctor Strange would make that deal. That wouldn't be something Doctor Strange would make. It'd be more like who has something to lose or has nothing to lose, like, you know, not Paul Walker.
Paul Walker,
US agent,
yeah.
US
Here we
agent.
go.
What's his character's name? I'm thinking on
John
that.
Walker.
John Walker.
There you go, John Walker. Like, he would be
Paul
someone
Walker.
Mephisto could convince. Yelena would be another one where she could, you know, bring back.
Yeah. That's funny you say Yelena. I thought Black Widow with Yelena. That's what
That
I
whole
thought.
team, the whole
Yeah.
Thunderbolts team, honestly, like
Each one of
they're
them
all
could,
like
could
that's
make
kind of the point of their team, right?
Yeah.
Just imagine if Mephisto got his hands on Sentry. Or the
I
Void.
was going to say the Void in Mephisto would be
literally any of the Thunderbolts would be someone that he like. That's another thing too,
Mhm.
where it's like that would be wild. We get something where it's like he's literally approached that whole team.
What if they go ground
Individually, not
level though,
together.
Mark? What if we're going too big? Let's zoom in. What if it's Wilson Fisk?
Hmm.
That'd be another
Like, what
person that's like, I don't care. I just
That
want
would
more
be
power
interesting.
or something.
See, well, and that's kind of the same like deal where I'm like, Ironheart, Riri Williams, like, what are we doing in this magic realm? But like, it worked, and maybe that would be the same way with Wilson Fisk, where like Wilson Fisk is so grounded, and like all of a sudden he has this opportunity to like, you know, promote or like expand on one
Yeah.
of his goals or whatever like that, and you know,
And that's
maybe
how
he takes
Daredevil
it. I
gets
don't
in the
know.
Midnight Suns.
No,
Right.
okay,
That's how we get
That's
Blade.
an idea. Blade.
Yeah,
I don't think
Right.
that. I don't think that's ever happening.
yeah.
I think we won't get a standalone Blade movie, but I think Blade will be. Mahershala Ali will show up as Blade in some property.
I bet
Whether
he
he's
will
just
too.
like-
Yeah,
Like, I think we're at least going to get a Blade. I don't know if we'll get
Deadpool 4.
standalone.
He shows up.
I still can't believe we've gotten half the things we've gotten and we haven't gotten Blade with Mahershala Ali. That's just
That is wild.
it just
I would say
doesn't
we
make
have
sense.
gotten
Oh, I
Blade.
should
We
make a
have
meme
gotten
about
Blade.
that
We
now.
just
That's
haven't gotten Mahershala Ali Blade
yeah,
and Black
sure.
Knight. That was what we
I
were
was-
promised at the end
yeah.
of Eternals.
I was speaking MCU. I
Black
wasn't
Knight
speaking.
Blade.
Night.
Well, Wesley Snipes' Blade is MCU now, canon. Sorry, bud.
You're right.
It's what it is.
He's there.
You're right. No, there's no is what it is. You're right. There's no there's no caveat. You're right.
Can't refute that.
No-
It's
no
just yeah,
caveat.
it just is.
Yeah, I have
You'll be in
nothing.
Doomsday,
You are
but
right.
I bet
That's
we'll
the
have two
only
Blades in Doomsday.
Well, there it is. The Max admitting that Mark is right on something. That's something I didn't expect to hear in this podcast.
Took Mephisto coming back to make that happen.
It did.
Wow,
At
crazy.
what cost? Max had to sacrifice something for me to have Mephisto.
Yeah.
That's how it's supposed to work.
Well, I know we're wrapping up the show, but I think like OG fans of this podcast go back to the COVID days when Mark and I were just pontificating episode by episode of WandaVision. And Mark, I gotta know, like, what was the first emotion you had seeing him on, like, actually seeing it?
First emotion.
Like, did
besides
you have an
arousal?
emotion or a knee-jerk response? Like, what was your response to seeing him? Like, even like when you see the spoon and you see the reflection of Mephisto on the spoon,
Right.
like, what
So
was your
my-
reaction to that?
My first thought is like, this is gonna open the doors to so much of the supernatural. In my opinion, it would really suck if they literally like never bring up Mephisto again. But his character literally can touch and get involved in everyone's story somehow because of who he is as an entity and the powers he has. So like, and it's finally like a justification moment. Like, we finally got Mephisto, who should have been in WandaVision, or should have been the bad in WandaVision, and now going to Agatha all along. Like, yes, I think we should have got a physical representation of him there.
Yes.
When we went to Thor: Love and Thunder, I think we should have got a little tease of Mephisto there as well. Like, I think this might be a little fan service why we got him, but I do like, but potentially Daddy Feige had a plan all along to bring Mephisto in here. So
Nah, I don't
to
buy
not
that.
have Riri
Well-
Williams to just make an Iron Man 2.0 with making her own arc reactor. Like, hey, how do we make Riri Williams different from the comic books that then fits our storyline? And it's like, oh,
Yes.
here's how we do it. We make her suit powered by magic, and that's what makes
That's
her
a
different.
great
Makes her
point
more
because like her whole thing in the comics is that she's like a super genius, like way more of a genius than Tony Stark.
unique. Right.
So even Tony is like, oh my gosh, like I defer to her because she's amazing. And in this is like, okay, it kind of just seems like she's a less smart Tony Stark
You
in
can't,
the
but you
MCU.
can't in this universe. I'm sorry, you can't. Hold on, you can't in this universe have somebody be smarter than Tony Stark that's not Reed Richards. I just don't think you can.
Right.
With
Well,
what
Richards isn't
transpired.
here yet,
Yeah.
so someone's gonna be smart.
He will. He
Hold
will. But I'm
But
Annie,
the
saying
fact,
you
keep your
can't
magic
do
underwear
that.
on. We'll
You
wait.
can't do it with what he's done.
but the
He's-
fact that they changed her character in that way, where she's like now associated with magic,
Yeah.
I kind of like that.
I like it
At
too.
in the end of the
It
day,
makes her
like
more
I
unique
didn't
and
like it
different.
coming into it because of the comic background of who she is, but after the show, I'm like, you know what? This is who she is in the MCU, and I'm okay with that. Like, I think that works.
Okay, so here's my little touch on that. What we didn't like with the minor change with Miss Marvel, with her being immune, didn't work. I think the minor change we got with Riri, with her suit being more like powered by magic, that works for what they told us in the story.
Yeah, agreed.
I think that's my opinion on that.
Yeah.
And
I'm with
also
you.
another, where it's not related to this, but the thing I like the callback to is the barf tech of picturing her memories out. Like that was a callback to what was that? Civil
Yeah.
War or something. So
Yeah.
anyways, I thought that was like that's
stuff.
going back to full circle. That's what we needed. Just little callbacks to things we saw in the movies and
Yeah.
other shows that just tied stuff together. Like, oh yeah, that technology exists. Someone probably sells that as like a, hey, come on to my store and pay $50 to relive a memory. So
It is necessary for every one of these shows or movies to have a cameo with a major character or an introduction of a major character. So I used to be on the stance of it has to be a cameo. I'm now editing that because I think Mephisto is the example of why you need a major cameo here, of like somebody introduced that's like, whoa, that's a big deal. The other part, Mark, too, that it appears Disney has been cutting back. They've said they're cutting back. It appears after Captain America Brave New World, which I don't think was the best product. I don't think it was as bad as people thought it was, but I certainly don't think it was amazing.
No.
It appears Disney might have a path forward now.
Right.
That's exciting. And like to me, this is a more exciting path than what we've had with after Endgame.
Right.
This is a little more
There's a
exciting.
stark contrast between this and something like Eternals, and I'm also not saying that Eternals is bad because I did like Eternals, but like you could
It
tell
had no ties
that
to the
Eternals,
outside world.
right? But you could tell that Eternals was like made to try to make Marvel a better product versus trying to like promote the future of the MCU. Like Eternals was kind of made to like maybe get the MCU an Oscar nomination, right? Like
well,
it kind of feels like that's what it was made
Well,
for.
that's with
But
the direction they got. With
versus
that,
Ironheart, where they're leaning right into the MCU, like, and just going full MCU, which is obviously what they should do because we loved it. So I don't know.
I think Eternals was meant on yes to the more of like a, this is a more refined film and like, hey, we can make legit Oscar-worthy films. But I think Eternals was really also meant to be, this is the phases, or this saga's Guardians of the Galaxy. We're bringing your space people, but they happen to be on Earth, and we're going to just introduce them all, and you're going to love them. But then it's like, it didn't really work because it really wasn't in space. It was on Earth. And then, it really had a giant effect with a giant celestial coming out, but then it was like lukewarm.
That, and then like other projects that they're clearly trying to do something different, like Werewolf by Night. Again, I loved Werewolf by Night, but what makes you more excited for the future of the MCU? Werewolf by Night or Eternals or Ironheart? Clearly it's Ironheart. Right now.
That's a great comparison. Like Ironheart does make it because it's like, hey, there's a big bad and we didn't end it with a big bad dying, the minor big bad dying, or any of the major
good point.
Heroes dying. Like everyone's alive, so these people now still all exist in the MCU. So
I'm all for that as well.
Is this better than Daredevil?
I haven't watched all of Daredevil. I haven't finished Daredevil yet, so I can't make that opinion. However, what I do know about Daredevil, when there's like, I'm putting a team together and it's not your Spider-Man and your Luke Cage, then it's like, nah.
I would say no, just because the performances in Daredevil were so good. Story-wise, it's probably about on par with Daredevil, I feel like. But like Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio, like all those guys are so stinking good.
But
I think it elevates
does Mephisto show up at the end?
I guess you'll have to watch and find out.
Max would have yelled at me months ago to go finish that.
Oh yeah,
If that was
you
the
would have
case.
known by now. You would have known by
Hey,
now.
if you don't watch a show, I'm unfriending you on all social media, and you're not coming to a social life party.
No, really, Mark, this was the one show you had to watch for our friendship, I think. I felt like this one was a must watch.
Yeah.
If you don't watch this, we're not friends anymore.
We have a lot of, never mind. I think this is better than Daredevil. That I'm going to go ahead and say it, and I cannot believe I'm saying that out loud. I have it ranked higher. I have Daredevil at 4.3.
What an unexpected surprise.
That is crazy, yeah.
And
I mean, like, it's kind of the same question, though. Like, Daredevil is not incomparable to, like, Eternals, Werewolf by Night, in the sense of that they're just, like, going for, you know, awards and Oscars and stuff like that. But what makes you more excited for the future of the MCU? Ironheart or Daredevil Born Again?
Ironheart,
it probably is Ironheart, right?
Like,
I loved it. I loved Born Again, and it made me
implication.
excited for the season 2 of Daredevil Born Again. But that doesn't really make me very excited for the future of the scope of the MCU. You know, like I don't know. It's pretty self-contained at this point. I mean, maybe season 2 they'll branch out a little bit, but
yeah, I hope they get back to the fundamentals, and I hope that they do something with Mephisto where they need an agent that connects with everything. Because that's what Phase 5 did not have. Everything felt like it's just blah, 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 blah. Like you talk about Eternals. It's like, it's there. It's kind of connected, but it's there. Like we need, that's what made Phase 1 so
Thunderbolts
unique.
so good is the connections and then the end credit scene. That's what we've been harping on for the whole, like, this last
There
phase.
we go.
Is what they're not doing right. Is they're not connecting everything. They're not dabbling into little bits that you need.
Right. You could throw Thunderbolts in there too. Like, does Thunderbolts make you as excited for the future of the MCU? You know, it's like Thunderbolts is so good.
I think Thunderbolts and Ironheart are two strong projects for Marvel. And I think if you had asked them, they would have loved to have heard people say Daredevil and Captain America. And I think we all agree this is a stronger project than Captain America. Brave New World. Yeah. For clarity.
And maybe the show hits off to, like, us because maybe they knew this, like the people that were in production was like, hey, maybe this might be the last Disney Plus show that's in production, unless Wonder Man's
Wonder Man is coming out
for this one.
Wonder Man, yep, that's December. It's coming in December.
Yeah. So like that's the whole thing where it's like, hey, they're not really gonna push us, so like let's just go all out with this or try to do our best. I don't know. Or maybe this is all part of Kevin Feige's plan. I don't know. That's the
I'm not buying that anymore. Kevin Feige's
plan,
nope, don't buy that anymore. Kevin Feige.
Yeah, we haven't been saying in Feige we trust on every episode for a while now.
Nope.
Faith and loyalty should be a plus in this group. We all.
Oh my gosh, I'm loyal to Feige. That's not what I said. What are you talking about? I'm just saying I'm not going to blindly follow him every time. There's a huge difference there. Stop.
I don't know about that.
Hey, if you blindly follow somebody, you might just get tossed away, just like the Hood tossed away his crew. So, and he valued loyalty above just about everything.
Oh yeah, that crew that really talked about, thought through, not at all one-dimensional individual characters crew. Yeah, no doubt.
I can't believe that's your big negative. Like, I do get it. I do respect that you do want more depth with characters. I can respect that. But I do find like you hang your hat on that. Like, hey, I just wanted 5 more minutes of Slug's background so that I can be a little more connected to them. I like that's literally the vibe I get.
No, Mark, like the the White Castle scene. Like, it would have been great to have her fight people she cared about. She didn't care about them. It would have been great when he tossed them to the side for me to get.
The whole point is like she came out as an outsider. She never really bonded with them. That's okay. So on that note, like every time she comes, Riri comes to hang out or like to like do a meeting, everyone else stays and hangs out. She doesn't. They don't invite her back. So are you gonna be hanging around caring about these people, trying to get to know them if they never like invite you? I think we'd all be that. Maybe not Max. Max is very charismatic, so they probably want Max to talk to him. I don't know about Isaac and I. Probably just me. Probably that's why I'm like, Riri, who gives about these people? So like, there you go.
Easy, slow your roll. You're both great people to hang around with. I'm just more so saying that was not an attack. Riri Williams' character.
Max is clearly attacking my character. And I hate it.
Whoa, easy. Riri Williams is the problem in the equation you're talking about. I'm saying I would have loved to see these people fight for Riri Williams because I think Riri Williams is always going to be this like loner type. It's just evident, especially now with how the arc is going. Like, she's not letting anybody in. She's made a literal deal with the devil. Like, she is so on her own loner. I'm cool with that. I think the character needs some support. So we gotta give characters around her more strength, because they will lift her up and they will give her more purpose. I just firmly believe that. The sexuality thing, look, I'm holding my hat to that. I think Marvel went for just like, let's get a crossdresser here, let's get lesbians here. I think that's what they did, and I think
hang on.
I
The
think
touch
it
on that
wasn't a great
topic.
recall there.
Do you really think that, like, hey, if we get the, like, you know, this group of people, like, or if we get someone that represents this group of people, they'll come in and watch the show? Because if that's the case, then why didn't they give more of a background?
I don't know if
If that's the case, they should have promoted the show more, because I had no idea
Especially in June.
that
Right,
character existed until I watched the show. So,
and
I
I've
think
heard
that's
some like hyper conservative people say, "Oh, so woke," and I'm like, I don't think it's. I think it's just like they put them there as like they just were one dimensional. It wasn't woke. It was studio executives putting one dimensional characters there, saying, "Look at us, look at how great we are, and we're releasing it in June," and yada yada yada. And I'm just like, no, this
yada yada yada.
Give me a backstory with this that lifts up Riri, because honestly, dude, we didn't even talk about Xavier, her love interest, like one of the weakest love interests in all the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I could care less about this guy's
a lazy love interest.
Yeah,
sitting in his room. All right, I got to go back to work.
He's literally always just sitting there playing on the drums or piano. Like, the guy is just in a perpetual state of watching Star Trek and listening to music. Like,
sounds like a great life.
Yeah, sounds like Isaac Edlund.
Robbie would be so upset.
Sounds like amazing.
Robbie would be so sad at that person. That's
no,
so funny.
I think Max, like Mark said, I know what you're getting at. I understand. And the first 3 episodes, I actually agree with you. But then the last 3 episodes focused on Riri, and I don't care about those characters anymore. You know, like I just didn't. And so it was okay that we didn't get all that backstory. In the end,
not a large quantity,
I think it
of
equaled out,
here,
and it
guys.
was fine.
It's not a large quantity of backstory.
They're all still alive, so like we'll get to see him again, Max.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will.
Slug down the road.
Oh, yippee!
Maybe they'll just come out with like your own backstory series. Yeah,
it will become the real Slug. It'd be super obese, and they use their fatness as a way to fight people.
Maybe, you never know. Maybe this is the series that kicks off that journey.
I don't even care that it wasn't.
Hey, if Echo gets a show, Slug gets a show.
That's not
all for Max. Hashtag Slug for Max.
Slug gets a show.
Slug existed to just highlight Madripoor. That was Slug's existence. Oh, remember Madripoor?
Literally brought up Madripoor like 7 times in like 2 minutes of screen time.
Hey, I'm from Madripoor. Okay, get back to the computer and go make the thing.
I'm from Madripoor. The thumbs up gift. Like, there you go. I'm back in your room.
Do you like my high heels? I'm from Madripoor. Okay. Get over there and turn off the car, please.
They did have enough time to get their nails done in every scene, or before every scene, so clearly those are some expensive nails they had. Like, I'm talking, they probably spent close to $200 every time. Anyways, moving on from that.
Odds we see going back to like future questions, and I know we
all that Marvel money.
Odds we see that pizza location again. Like, is that going to be the Mephisto location moving forward? Do we think that is
tough, because if the Hood's no longer there, so this is a great question, Max. I love it. So what's his name? Not the Hood, or he's the Hood, but what's his actual like character name? Something
Parker Robbins.
Parker.
Parker Robbins. Yeah,
Parker Robbins. So now that he's been stripped of the Hood, wouldn't he still have control of his dad's company? Like, where does that all land for him? Like, wouldn't he still have the power, the ownership of the building? So, like, essentially, yes, would it still be a location? So, like, that's a great question. Does that become a centralized location for Mephisto? Or is it just like, no, it's no longer necessary to have that as a spot?
I like the idea that pizza place always pops up. I like that idea. I like the idea, and I like the idea that there will be other people that already have deals set up with him. And almost like when we get to a big conflict with him, he's gonna have so many people that have deals with him that
maybe that's how Thunderbolt Ross gets out of the jail.
Oh, I like that a lot, Mark. I like that a lot. I like that one a lot. Let's end on that.
Marvel.
Maybe that's who the leader thought what meant by it, and it wasn't actually Galactus. That would make more sense that he knows more about Mephisto than Galactus.
Sure. Nobody knows about Galactus, I think. I think only the
Yeah, I think
Fantastic
Galactus
Four.
is just gonna be like how Hulk came down, Thanos is coming. If it's the Fantastic Four that we've seen with Pedro Pascal, or we get the previous Fantastic Four showing up in Thunderbolts, they're gonna be the ones saying Galactus is coming.
This is our last episode before we talk Superman. Superman's next week.
True.
Right.
And so then essentially we're 2 podcasts away before we talk Fantastic Four.
That's crazy.
Yep.
It's coming up fast.
So
Man.
yeah, I don't think anybody knows about Galactus, Mark. I think
Yeah.
I think that's the
I'm with you on
Fantastic
that.
Four's purpose.
Yeah.
That's their
Yeah.
purpose.
The only people that would know would be Mephisto, I feel like, because I think his lore is like he can sense when something like that enters the galaxy or whatever it is. So
The power. Sense the power.
Great casting of Sacha Baron Cohen. Great casting.
right.
6 out of
Yeah,
10.
he did fantastic. That was,
I
that
would
was
I
great.
would like to know if like in that first scene where he has an American accent was filmed like way before, and then when he came back to like kind of finish it, they're like, okay, just regular accent, because like to me it's like, why do you have an American accent first? Which I felt was
No,
more
I
menacing, but
think
then I
Mark-
kind of liked his like just normal voice a lot better.
I think that is we're going to find out who he was talking to. I think that was a tease to like, there is a British individual he is speaking with that is going to be important down the line. I just feel pretty.
I thought it was just a reference to like, he shows up in different ways to different people.
Well, if that was the case, I wish he would have showed up differently to Riri, unless there was some subtle
True.
differences
Yeah.
that I didn't
In
notice.
like a different, that would have made more sense for sure if that were the case.
I think he's talked to Madison already from She-Hulk. I feel confident in saying book that.
Oof. It wasn't that one of the shows they said to watch before this? Wasn't there a few shows that
I don't know.
I don't know if it was Daddy Feige or the Marvel team said watch these shows and movies before you watch
I
Ironheart.
also think he has talked to somebody from Agatha all along.
Well, yeah.
Oh, that makes sense for sure.
Well,
yeah.
Agatha talks about having met him or worked with him, so
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I love this character.
and clearly he works hand in hand with Death, or has to.
Yeah, Death would definitely know him.
Yeah.
For sure.
Especially if he's collecting souls, and
Yeah.
she is too, unless they're enemies because they both want the souls.
What if
Yeah,
that's the war, Mark? What if the movie is Sacha Baron Cohen's Mephisto's team versus?
Well, imagine if a
Death
giant Earth killer or planet killer came to eat everything. That'd be a lot of souls up for
Can
grabs.
you just let the Galactus thing go?
What if it was a giant cloud that came to destroy the world?
Golly, just let the Galactus thing go, Mark. Let go. Pick
Galactus
another
is the
villain
Earth
that
Wolf.
destroys all of Earth. Anything. I'm telling you, there's 20 of them.
But he's clearly we know he's coming. So
Yeah, in another universe, not in our.
well, hang on,
universe.
no. We're gonna come back now. We're gonna come back to Shang-Chi when they're at that end credit scene where it's Captain Marvel, Wong, and Bruce Banner, not Professor Hulk. They find out that the rings are sending out a signal. Who is that sending out a signal to?
I don't think Marvel knows that answer. I think that was Kang, and I think then Jonathan Majors decided to be a jerk.
Well, there's rumors that he might be back. So whether or not it's
That's true.
Doctor Strange or not Doctor Strange, Doctor Doom ripping his he's instead of Thanos, he rips out Kang's spine, which would wouldn't be as much of a hit as seeing that scene. But with
I
Thanos, but-
think a lot of people would get a lot of love out of that scene simply for what he's
sure.
done to the
I
Marvel.
just mean sure from a viewer standpoint, but actually from like a comic book, want to see it on the big screen, it would mean more with Thanos. But I get what you're saying.
I think he's a huge reason that Marvel's in the pickle it's in right now. I think a lot of things would look differently if he was in the picture. So
Remember thinking about old times. Remember at the end of Infinity War when we kind of talked about what would happen in Endgame, and this just came to my mind where when the snap happens and they come back, and instead of the Avengers building, it's the Baxter building.
yeah,
Those are good times.
Ooh, yeah. I remember we were talking about that.
And now with that
Times.
Avengers building potentially being up for grabs, if the Avengers that are currently there don't work out, that could be the new Vector building still. So
Avengers.
Avengers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zzz.
that's another thing. Does Mephisto help set up one of the other Avengers teams? That'd be another wild.
No,
Anyways, we're getting too far in the weeds.
He's setting up a
Bring me
Midnight Suns movie.
Just have like 7 Avengers teams all battling.
I
it out.
think it's a Midnight Suns movie. That's what I think.
That would be sweet. I'd be down. Well, guys, I think it's time to wrap it up. But we had a great conversation. fun stuff, lots of stuff to look forward to in the MCU. Let us know what you thought of Ironheart, and let us know what you think of the future of the MCU. You can email us at infinitybrospodcast@gmail.com. You can hit us up at theinfinitybros.com, or you can hit us up on any of our socials. We would love to have a conversation with you. Max, thanks so much for joining today. It's been a blast.
Thank you for having me.
Mark, it's also been a pleasure.
I'm always happy to come with you guys and talk about Marvel stuff.
Well, wherever you're listening, however you're listening, thank you so much for making us a part of your podcast experience. We love you 3000. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Infinity Bros podcast. You can find the Infinity Bros on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube at The Infinity Bros. You can also check out our website at theinfinitybros.com for links, reviews, and sweet merch. Feel free to send us listener feedback via social media or email at infinitybrospodcast@gmail.com.